Of course, the Weather Channel has you covered with extensive coverage of all the threats that are ahead. I'm meteorologist Alex Wallace, alongside meteorologist Jen Carfagno, our storm specialist Dr. Greg Postel. And, Greg, each day this week, we're talking about a pretty significant threat for the severe weather that really gets kicked off today.
And tonight, and then tomorrow, yes, it's going to be, and Thursday. I mean, we have to watch out for this. So this pattern is kind of set up for that. It's very warm, record-breaking warmth in some cases over the southeast, colder in the west. That kind of contrast sets us up for storminess in the middle, and we're seeing that.
There's many cities that have this kind of risk day after day after day. It's not 1 day, 2 days, 4 days, where you have both the risk for severe weather with all hazards, but also really heavy rainfall.
I think that's one of the things that's going to be, when it's all said and done, a big thing that everyone remembers, the rain that comes from these storms.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, we're going to put all the hazards from our April storm
of the threats that are ahead. I'm meteorologist Alex Wallace, alongside meteorologist Jen Carfagno and our storm specialist, Dr. Greg Postel. And Dr. Postel, when we start looking at what we've got to face this week, a busy time each and every day. I mean, including yesterday, the threat for severe weather is in place.
And including tonight. I mean, even later on this afternoon. It's going to start us off. I think we have a significant tornado threat across parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, nearby areas. We'll get to that. And that is an extension of, well, what's going to happen over the next few days with a whole lot of severe weather.
You really need to stay vigilant because we've got these threats day after day after day. We've got about 4 or 5 days in a row and almost the same areas, but they're a little different. The timing's a little different. There's all these subtleties that you just need to pay attention to.
Absolutely. And the other part of it, right, the severe threat is there, but these storms are not just coming in dry. They're coming with a lot of rain, and that's going to be a problem as well.
Well, from severe threats to winter worries, we put pretty prolific, actually. Now, thanks to our virtual view technology, I'm standing in Louisville, where clouds will give way to storms. Some of the storms could be severe, and then the front kind of stalls out, and that's going to fuel rounds and rounds of rain, which could lead to several inches of rainfall and fuel a prolonged flood threat. Louisville is almost 3.5 inches above average for rainfall on the year. The zone where this is falling, and this is a lot of rain coming in, is not necessarily a spot running behind. But regardless of whether you need this kind of rain or not, anyone getting it at one time could cause a flooding risk. We've got a widespread 5 to 8 inches with 8 to 12 or even 12 to 18 inches of rain. This is the European model. This is the GFS model. It has even more. You can see that widespread footprint of a foot plus of rainfall. That's several months worth of rain that we could be getting in about 4 or 5 days. So the zone to watch, we've got it circled for you right here. It happens to be out ahead of our front. And Greg talked about that front and the troubles it's going to cause with triggering thunderstorms and the possibility of severe weather. But the other problem is the front actually gets stuck and we end up with a stalled front and the jet stream energy right overhead. This whole pattern gets locked in for several days in a row, and we end up with heavy rain repeating itself, leading to a significant widespread flooding. We've got the rivers on the background of this here, and you can see some of the areas that are going to be hard hit. And it's streams, it's creeks, it's areas that can quickly, you can see those streams and creeks quickly move out of their banks onto roadways. That could be areas of issue. Flash flooding is a possibility with the kind of rain we're expecting. And to get this kind of rain, we're going to have big flash flooding rates. That's what drives, there were big rainfall rates, I should say, and that's what drives the flash flooding. Wednesday to Thursday, Thursday to Friday, those look pretty similar, don't they? Look at this, Friday to Saturday, Saturday to Sunday. Very similar areas here, just shifts a little further to the east by the time we get into Saturday to Sunday. So be on your guard for multiple days and know that the weather will be changing. It's, if it's not flooding when it starts, there's still that potential. And so you need to just be ready for warnings, be ready to act, be ready to change your route with driving, all of that kind of thing. Multiple days of rain here as we get into the weekend. This is Saturday, and you can see we still got spots like Little Rock and Memphis and Paducah and Louisville. Raining. You notice the rain has not turned off this whole time I've been standing in the virtual view. That's because it just isn't. For days, we're going to see that risk. It's really not until Monday that we finally kick this whole thing out and the pattern changes. Louisville, we've got about 6 or 7 inches of rain coming your way. Memphis and over into Arkansas, look at Jonesboro and Forest City. We've got 9, 10, even 11 inches of rain coming on in. Paducah, we've got about the same, 8, 9 inches of rainfall heading over towards Bowling Green, traveling, whether it's I-65 or even I-75 will be pretty wet. Now, Little Rock, we've got about 9 or 10 inches of rain. Arkansas is going to be an area that we really watch for the heavy rainfall and that potential of flash flooding here. Again, multiple days in a row. This goes from Wednesday to Monday. Now, to the north, Alex, it's not rain, but it's inches of snow.
That's right. Maybe
A
April.
rain-snow mix coming in here. We've got the snow turned on right now in our virtual view. This is a great day to stay inside, have some hot soup, maybe some chocolate, hot chocolate, I should say. Better weather does arrive in Minneapolis by the end of the week, but the next 36 hours are not really going to be that fun because if it's not snowing, it's going to be raining and kind of a chilly rain. As you can see, we flipped that switch. That should happen later this afternoon. We'll likely start with some snow and then change over to rain. Temps are going to head up to about 40 today. And then this evening, we change back into some wet snow. Not expecting a lot of accumulation around Minneapolis. We could get an inch or two, perhaps there. But you're watching areas farther north where we've got 8 to 12 inches in the forecast zone here around Duluth and getting up into Canada. That's where we could see even more snowfall. That's the zone that'll have the most impactful amounts of snow coming down, as well as the wind blowing all of it around. It is snowing across western Minnesota, eastern South Dakota, eastern North Dakota as well. You can see that snow still falling in Alexandria. We've now dropped to 31 degrees. So that snow has got the opportunity to stick up there. Minneapolis, we're still sitting at 37. So we'll see what we start with when we finally get enough moisture in the atmosphere. No advisories or warnings in Minneapolis, but we do have winter storm warnings in Bemidji, in Duluth, in Fargo, winter weather advisories in Wisconsin, including around Rhinelander and Wausau. And we've got that snow for you moving in as we get into overnight tonight. You'll see this evening even some snow starting to work in there. For us in Minnesota, it's ongoing, obviously right now, continuing, ramping up through today, tonight into tomorrow. Still snow coming down at 9 a.m. You can see in Duluth, Minneapolis, we're actually still rain at this point. And then as we get into tomorrow evening, we'll see if we finish with a little snow in Minneapolis. But, you know, farther north there, Bemidji, mentioned you for the third time because you stay in snow the whole event. And it's not until Thursday that this all moves out of here. All right, so we've got the snow and the chill up here. To the south, it's just a completely different landscape, Alex.
It really is. Coverage of all the threats that are ahead. I'm meteorologist Alex Wallace alongside meteorologist Jen Carfagno and our storm specialist Dr. Greg Postel. And Dr. Postel, we look at the forecast here, and it's already been a busy week, and it's only going to get busier here all the way through the weekend.
And beginning this evening. I mean, I think you can't really neglect, what might happen in the next few hours over parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. Severe weather is probably going to rapidly develop with the tornado threat, significantly so. And then that's just the beginning of multi-day event upcoming. Jenny, you mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential in the atmosphere this week, and the atmosphere is kind of locked in the same area day after day and night after night. Actually, at the risk, tornadoes, severe weather in terms of strong winds and hail, but also flooding rain. I mean,
that's a huge story.
It's and a huge area covered by it, too. And this is still the severe area, but the flooding sort of mimics that.
Very much overlapping each other, right?
Yeah. Well, from severe threats to winter worries, we put rain for you going to soak much of the volunteer state, including here in Memphis. And day after day of storms will raise the risk of flooding along the Mississippi River and farther inland. So let's look at the sort of the flood aspect of it. Greg showed us where we could see severe weather. And for Memphis, severe weather is a possibility, but so is flooding with this heavy rain that we're expecting. One model example, this European model, widespread 5 to 8 inches of rain. That's the orange color. Red is 8 to 12 inches of rain, and the hot pink is 12 to 18 inches. And look at what the GFS has, a really widespread area of 12 to 18 inches of rainfall, including around Paducah, Kentucky. So this whole zone, we're not in a drought. I mean, not that anyone ever needs this much rainfall, but this area is not necessarily searching for it. The front comes in, and as Greg showed us, that will trigger severe weather, but the front itself doesn't make a clean sweep through. It gets stuck. It becomes stationary, and it becomes a focus for multiple rounds and multiple days of showers and thunderstorms. The jet stream energy in place is going to help. This whole pattern is just kind of stuck and locked in. And so we don't change anything. The high pressure over here to the southeast, which keeps you all nice and hot and warm this week, well, that blocks this from moving on. And that's why we get this risk of severe flooding across this region. Flood watch is already up in Arkansas, in northern Mississippi, West Tennessee, through a lot of Kentucky, up to Ohio and Indiana. We've got the risk of heavy rain. So this is multiple day risk. We start with Wednesday to Thursday, Thursday to Friday, not a whole lot of change, right? Here, same areas at risk for flooding. And then we see Friday to Saturday, Saturday to Sunday. Again, not a whole lot of change. It will budge a little bit further to the east as we see these 2 days. But a lot of spots have 4 days of this heavy rain and flash flooding threat. Rain will continue starting probably later tonight, but especially on Wednesday into Wednesday night, into Thursday. You can see these rounds of rain. By Friday, we see a resurgence of moisture and a new area of low pressure forming, but that just doesn't, again, gets blocked by the high pressure, so it doesn't really go anywhere. But here, the same area is still getting hit with some heavy rainfall amounts. Finally, by Monday, this all moves east and through the south and east. So because of that, we end up with these big numbers, like 7 or 8 inches of rain in your forecast. Lexington, Louisville, travelers, beware as we look ahead. You know, this flooding becomes a nowcast problem, and so you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the weather, to meteorologists, to your warnings. If you get flash flood warnings, you see the kind of rain we're dealing with right here. So there could be some significant issues when it comes for travelers. Paducah, we've got 9, 10, even more than a foot of rain in the forecast, 9 to 10 inches. Perhaps more than 12 inches of rainfall there. And Little Rock, we've got about 8, 9 inches of rain as a possibility. This can make streams and creeks come out of their banks. And so areas that are near them may be dealing with flooding here. Be ready for this. This goes Wednesday all the way through Monday in terms of the forecast of rainfall. Now, Alex, northern plains and upper Midwest, the Twin Cities, we will also see some gusty winds and a rain-snow mix coming in. Snowflakes to start. You can see them coming down here in our virtual view. But then we mix in with some rain and probably change over to rain. Either way, it's cold. It's chilly. A great day to stay inside, maybe have some soup, hot chocolate. Some better weather does arrive by the end of the week, but look at this next, say, afternoon and evening. We've got snow, rain, snow. And as we get into tomorrow, we're still going to see some of that, at least a chilly rain over the area. The snowfall amounts will be higher to the north, and that's where we've got 5 to 8 inches, maybe even 8 to 12 inches of snow, a couple of spots, 12 to 18, like up here into northeastern Minnesota, getting up into southern Canada. We've already got the snow on the move, and you can see it coming down almost to Minneapolis, not quite though, but south of town and south of west of town is where you're seeing some of that snow, some of the brighter echoes and higher snowfall rates there. Now, temperatures in most spots are at freezing or above, but in Alexandria, we've been sticking at 31. We were at 32 earlier, and we dropped a degree. So the snow coming down steady enough, refrigerating the air, and you're going to get accumulation. That's why winter storm warnings are up. Bemidji, Duluth, Grand Marais, some of the other cities within that. We also have winter advisories. We'll get that snow into northern Wisconsin, too, before mixing in with some rain. So Minneapolis, that wintry mix of weather that we'll have through this evening, and then we do change over to rain tomorrow during the day. A chilly rain, but rain. Snow still falling to the north, though. And notice Aberdeen, we're still in the snow. Fargo, we're still in the snow. This is tomorrow, 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So you got almost 24 hours of it out there. Finally, it moves away by the time we get into Thursday morning. But then we see everything shift over into the northeast, and we will see a wintry mix here into Portland, Maine. Wednesday night starts with a mix of rain and snow, but then we change over to all rain. And that's really the trend that we'll see, is this changing precip, starting with snow, yes, but then a period of time in freezing rain, which could add to some potential issues out there. And then we change over to all rain after that as we get throughout the day on Thursday. Complete opposite story in the Southwest, Alex.
It really is. We're just starving and begging.